litigation. He'll be coming and addressing us. He's actually my wife's uncle. He has quite a bit of experience, is now retired, also worked for the church in the construction litigation side just recently on a mission.
Litigation is law?
Litigation is law. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that'll be next week. For today, we have the University of Utah, who is my alma mater, as well as BYU-Idaho. So we're glad to have them here. We have Danny Wall, who is the director of the Masters of Science in Finance, or Science in Finance and Master of Real Estate Development programs of the University of Utah's David Eccles School of Business. He is also an associate professor and teaches classes in both real estate and corporate finance. Prior to joining the University of Utah, Danny held positions in commercial real estate lending, brokerage and appraisal before joining LECG as a valuation expert. At LECG, his primary focus was complex forensic consulting assignments that covered a broad range of markets and asset classes. His work supported decisions and dispute resolution efforts in a variety of settings, from the courtroom to the boardroom. Danny holds an MS in real estate from the University of Denver and a BA in English from the University of Utah. He's a member of the Counselors Real Estate, CRE, and a NIOP Distinguished Fellow, holds the CCIM and MAI designations. He enjoys spending time with his family and working in his workshop, playing guitar and surfing. We also have Regina Mavis with us. She's an admissions coordinator of the University of Utah's Master of Finance and Master of Real Estate Development programs. She has over 7 years experience in higher education and over 4 years of experience in corporate administration and banking. As alumna of the University of Washington, she majored in communication and participated in a study abroad program in Rome, Italy. She currently resides in Salt Lake City with her husband and spends most of her free time prepping for the GRE exam. She hopes to be free of this test soon and resume all of her outdoor adventures that Utah has to offer. I'll introduce them.
Thank you all. It's super uncomfortable to listen to other people talk about you. But thank you, that was nice. So my name's Danny Wall. I'm the director of the Master Real Estate Development program at the University of Utah. And I come from a long line of contractors. You guys are, I think most of you are at least partially interested in the construction industry, I would assume. My grandfather and my father were both contractors, and my mom insisted that I not become a contractor for some reason, and her and my dad had words about that from time to time, but I couldn't get that real hands-on piece out of my blood. I liked the idea of being able to see and touch and feel and occupy and really experience what I was working on. And so I struggled a little bit trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I initially thought I wanted to be a dentist, and then I decided that working inside of somebody else's mouth for the rest of my life was not what I wanted to do. It was kind of gross, and the workspace is just really small. So then I decided I wanted to be a lawyer, and so I applied to law school and got accepted, and then but all along throughout this whole process I just really was interested in real estate. And in my mind, real estate blended kind of that business world with that hands-on kind of tangible asset world. And it was a perfect marriage for me. I could satisfy my mom because I could go and get a job where I could work in an office, and I could satisfy my dad by still being connected to the built environment. And I loved both of those. Well, the office part, it's overrated. But being connected to that built environment piece was really important to me. And so instead of going to law school, another wise person sat me down and said, don't go to law school unless you want to be an attorney. And that's another good piece of advice. I didn't really want to be an attorney. I thought I could backdoor my way into real estate by getting a law degree. Anyway, long story short, I discovered you could actually get a master's degree in real estate. And my degree was a master's in real estate and construction management. It blended the two. And that was so exciting. I immediately dropped all of my other plans for law school and went in pursuit of this master's degree. And I assume, like many of you, I didn't really have any connections in the real estate world. I didn't come from a real estate family. I grew up in Santa Barbara, California, and Santa Barbara is one of those markets you hear about where it's almost impossible to build something. The people who live there, they never want it to change. They always want it to be the same. And so I didn't really know any real estate developers either, because it's hard to be a real estate developer in a place like Santa Barbara. So education was my foot in the door, so to speak. That was how I gained connections, I gained knowledge, and was able to get to start a career in real estate. So right after school, I did lending for a big insurance company. That's the coolest thing I think about real estate and construction is you guys don't even know all the opportunities that are out there. I don't even know all the opportunities that are out there. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of different jobs you can take. Did you guys know that insurance companies hold massive amounts of real estate debt? Some of you probably knew that. But you pay your health insurance every month. Your health insurance company takes that money and they invest it in lots of different things. And one of their favorite places to invest it is in real estate, commercial real estate mortgages. And so I got a job doing underwriting and portfolio management for a big health insurance company, looking at real estate deals all over the country. I didn't even know that you could do that at the time. I had no idea. So I'm going to tell you this story just to hopefully give you some context and help you understand. And most of you probably already get this, but your career path will be a windy road. It is not going to be a straight shot to your dream job. It will be a windy road. And my strategy was to take the best opportunities that came. And I did that. So this health insurance company, that was the best opportunity I had out of grad school. But it was incredibly corporate. And I would imagine that a lot of you are here studying what you're studying because you don't really want that corporate job. You don't want to have to wear a suit every day. You don't want somebody telling you what to do all the time. And I'm the same way. They dictated how many drawers you could have under your desk based on your level of employment. And it was insane. And so that lasted for about a year. Then I went to the far end of the spectrum. In real estate, you can take jobs where you basically eat what you kill, 100% commission, and those jobs have huge upside, but they also have a lot of risk. You can make $1 million 1 year, and then for the next 2 years, you might not make anything. Those jobs exist. On the far other end of the spectrum was that job I had with the insurance company. It's a corporate job, salary, no risk. You're coming in, kind of punching the clock every day, and those jobs exist too. And then there's a spectrum, everything you can imagine in between. And so after that insurance job, I went to work for Grubb & Ellis. Grubb & Ellis was one of the largest commercial real estate brokerages in the world, and they went bankrupt. They didn't survive the financial crisis. But I went to work for them in Boise, Idaho, and that was the far end of the spectrum. It was 100% commission, and the people I was working with weren't the type of people that I wanted to be. They weren't the type of professionals that I wanted to grow up and become. And then the principals got in a big fight, and the whole firm kind of fell apart. So that left me in a bad spot. And I don't know if any of you guys know Gail Pooley. He actually teaches here. Gail was upstairs from my office. He called me up one day and he said, "Hey, why don't you come work for me?" He was a commercial real estate appraiser. So here I am. I'm 2 years into my career, 2 years into my real estate career. I'm on my third job. So, any of you think that's unusual, or what do you guys think? Is that unusual? I don't know that it is anymore. It's you're going to do a lot of jumping around, and I'm afraid that's just the way the world works. And sometimes it's to your advantage to do so. A lot of times, companies they don't value what they have in-house, and other companies might value you more and be willing to pay you more for a better job even. So I went to work for Gail, and we did commercial real estate appraising mostly for Wells Fargo all over the state of Idaho. And we were out here in Rexburg a lot. We were in Idaho Falls. We were out in Driggs. We were up in Coeur d'Alene. We were all over the state. We were a little bit in Wyoming, Montana, Eastern Oregon. It was great. It was really cool. And valuing property. So when Wells Fargo goes to make a loan to somebody, they need a third party to come in and tell them what the property is worth, so they can size the loan appropriately. They don't want to overloan or overlend or underlend. They kind of want to get it right, and that's what we were doing. Well, Then 2008 came. What happened in 2008? Yeah, the world ended, right? That's what it felt like. I was a young professional. To me, it felt like the world was ending. It didn't end. It was okay. But really nerve-wracking, kind of painful. It was tough. Were any of you guys working? And you guys all look pretty young. But were any of you guys working in, say, in construction during that time period? Well, that's a good thing. You dodged a bullet, right? You might remember your parents stressing out over stuff, or, you know, a lot of people lost everything. And, you know, so our work slowed down. Banks stopped lending money. Wells Fargo literally stopped making loans. And so right about that time, I got an offer to move down to Salt Lake to go to work for this big international consulting firm that did litigation consulting. Did you guys know that you can make a living helping people through litigation? You're not an attorney, you're a consultant, you're an expert. You bring expertise to the table that the other parties don't have. And they pay you a lot of money to do this. And so you go in and there's a big problem. It might be what's something worth. There might be damages. We did a lot of work where a construction project went bad, or it didn't go bad, but the developer was just trying to recover money from anyone he could. So the developer would sue the contractor and then sue the architect, and then the architect would sue the contractor, and the contractor would sue the architect. A lot of them had to do with cold roofs for some reason. Anyway, so stuff like that, and then we'd go in and say, all right, here's the damages, and that kind of thing. So that was really good work during the recession, because when people lose money and they lose the ability to make money the good old-fashioned honest way, what do? They sue each other. They go to the courts, because it's never their fault that they lost money. It's somebody else's fault. And so that was a great way to make a living during that period. A very morbid way, but it was a good way to make a living. But litigation is stressful, it's tiring, it wears you out. I was actually starting to feel my physical health decline because I was working so many hours. It was such high intensity. And, you know, my boss saw that I was kind of wearing out, and so he sent my wife and I on a trip to Hawaii, hoping that I would come back after a week in Hawaii and be ready to go for another 5 years. And while I was in Hawaii, my neighbor called me and said, hey, the University of Utah is looking for someone to run their master's degree in real estate. I thought, oh, that'd be perfect. So I applied, and through some miracle, I literally thought I had like a 10% or less shot at getting it. But they hired me, and that's where I've been ever since. It's been an incredible experience. I love it. It's great to be able to influence the next generation of real estate professionals. So I'm sorry for telling you such a long story, but your career is probably going to look something like that. And that's okay. I am in a great spot now. Actually, every job I've had, I've kind of thought, I'm in a great spot. And that's good. But the other thing I want to tell you, this is my most sincere and kind of heartfelt pitch for graduate school. I can trace all of getting every single job I had along that path was directly related to my degree. And the people who hired me even told me that. They said, we liked you because of your degree. My job now at the University of Utah, I wouldn't have been able to even apply were it not for that degree. So I'm a Kool-Aid drinker, I guess, when it comes to graduate school. It's had an immense impact on my life. Can you imagine if I just stopped with a degree in English? I mean, none of this would have happened for me. So now you guys are doing something that's a little more applied, which is good. It's a little more hands-on. There's a huge labor shortage right now in the construction industry. So that's good for you. That won't always be the case. You guys are going to go through cycles. That's the other thing. This market's going to cycle. We're beyond the ninth inning in the cycle right now. Everyone's kind of going, why haven't we gone into a recession yet? We're overdue, and there are a lot of reasons and a lot of arguments. You know, a lot of ways to explain that, but most people see another 12 to 18 months of good runway ahead of us, and I do too. So I don't know what it's going to be like when you guys graduate, though. So anyway, that's me in a nutshell. I have 4 kids. I served a mission in Sicily, and you know, really enjoy living in Salt Lake. So I'm from Santa Barbara, California originally, but So anyway, so we're going to talk a little bit more about this degree, and this degree probably isn't going to be for all of you. Some of you might be kind of slitting your wrists right now, just looking forward to being done with school, and I get that. That's a very real thing. But what our degree offers is another very large set of career paths for people that have experience in construction or education in construction. So you guys have all these doors that are open to you right now, and you've got these amazing employers. I mean, you guys need to take advantage of this kind of stuff. I mean, you have a company like WW-Clyde on campus, and they want you to come work for them. That's amazing. If it were me, I'd go sit in those things for however many hours that is, because like I said, take the best opportunities that come. But those are some good companies. One of my professional mentors, his mom is a Clyde, and that's kind of their family. It was their family business. They sold it, but anyway, our Masters of Real Estate Development program is a 42 credit. Can you guys all see this? Okay. Okay. It's a 42 credit hour graduate degree, and it is designed for working professionals. So if you guys decide you want to come and do this program, we would expect that you would come down with the intention of not only going to school, but actively looking for a job. We don't really want students who are going to come down and just say, you know, I'm just here to go to school. I don't want to do anything else, because we want you to be employed quickly. And so most of our students will either get jobs or internships while they are in the program, and our program facilitates that. Almost all of the classes are offered in the evening. You'll come to each class is one night a week for 3 or 4 hours. And so what happens in reality is we get a lot of students, especially younger students who are fresh out of school, because you don't need work experience to do this. Some of our younger students will come right out of school and say, I'm just going to jam through this as fast as I can. And we kind of say, all right, you know, that's your choice. And then after their first semester, they see all the amazing opportunities that are afforded them by being in the program. They hit the brakes and say, you know what, I'm going to stay in this program as long as I can. And that sounds weird because it's school, right? But it happens. That's probably the best compliment I can get as a director, that we're doing things correctly, is students will actually prolong their time in the program. So 42 credit hours, it can be completed in 3 semesters. You can start in August, and you can end in August, if you're at the end of July if you want to. That's really working hard, and it's totally doable. But you might want to rein that in a little bit, because when you're a student, people are going to talk to you. People are going to help you. People are going to roll out the red carpet and do anything they can to help you along your way. When you're not a student, they won't do that as readily. So we call it the student card, and we like our students to go out and network. And you'll see we offer an incredible amount of networking opportunities. It's one of the advantages of being in a major metro, is you've got all these networking opportunities that are right at your front door. Up here it's a little tougher because people have to travel to get here, and there isn't quite as big of the economy, of an economy. But the program is very flexible. You can do it, like I said, you can do it full or part-time. And we do enroll in the fall and the spring. In fall, you guys are on a slightly different system than we are. So fall for us is August, and spring is January. So we have start dates in August and January. And then in order to graduate, there's no exam or anything. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to basically mock up an entire development project, soup to nuts, the whole shebang. So you're going to go out and you're going to find a site. And these are real deals. This isn't like, these aren't case studies. You don't just make up your own site. You actually go out and you find a site. And you run through all the financial analysis, all the due diligence, all of the market analysis. By the way, you will have had classes in all of those things. So you're taking everything you've learned in the program and you're applying it in this one final project. And then the top projects will actually get to present in front of the class. And this is a class that you'll take, and it'll be taught by a professional. And some students pick projects that they're actually working on. So it's kind of a cool opportunity. You get to do a real project, and that's your capstone. So by the way, if you guys have any questions raise your hand or just shout out, and feel free to interrupt me. So I don't want you to forget your questions. So, whoops. All right, so this is a list of our classes. Our core curriculum consists of 30 credit hours, and that's over there on your left-hand side. So we have a financial modeling class, which is basically how do you model a development project in Excel. And then we do appraisal and investment. You're going to learn how to value property, and you're going to learn how to assess the quality and the risk of a project from an investor's perspective. The next one is land use law. You're going to talk a lot about easements and eminent domain and condemnation and zoning and all that stuff that goes into figuring out if your site is a good site to build on. And then we have a site development class, which is kind of that next step. How do you design and lay out and develop a good site? Our program focuses on sustainability. This is really sustainability within the building envelope. It doesn't look at off-site stuff. It's really how do you design and build a sustainable project. And sustainability used to be kind of a bad word in the real estate development world because it cost a lot of money to build a sustainable project, and that was hard money to recover. You might end up spending a lot of extra money to I don't know, on a water system or solar or something. And back, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that money was a little tougher to recover. Today, sustainability is it's built into building code even. I think most builders now are building to a LEED bronze or silver. And so sustainability is important especially if you're working with architects. You'll need to understand that. And then you'll also need to understand how to not overspend on sustainability. Things like LEED, to get the LEED stamp on your property can cost an extra $100,000, or you could just build to that LEED standard and not bother with the stamp, and that's what a lot of people do. So we have a real estate development due diligence class where you learn about, you basically build a checklist. What do I need to be careful with going into this project? You're going to build this checklist. And our students actually, after they graduate, they use that checklist. Very valuable tool. Real estate development life cycles, survey of real estate development. Those two classes are kind of high level, big picture. What are all the different asset classes you can look at? What are all the different things you can do in real estate development? Real estate finance, which is my class, it's nuts and bolts. How do you underwrite a project? How do you figure out if a project is financially feasible? And that's both on the investment and the development side. Real estate market analysis, how do you break down a market and know if it's good, bad, or ugly. And then the capstone project, we already talked about that. So the core curriculum is going to get you, you're going to be pretty well prepared coming out of the core. But in addition to the core, you can take 12 electives. And our electives, we're always adding electives. It's cool how this develops. All of these classes, with the exception of 2, are taught by professionals. And when I say professionals, like our appraisal and investments class, it's taught by a guy who's an appraiser and an investor. The land use law class is taught by an attorney. We don't have tenured faculty who come in and spend most of their time on research and who have never actually done a project. This is a nuts and bolts, hands-on, how do you make money as a real estate professional type program. So you're not going to get a ton of theory. The theory that you get is theory that people actually use in practice. And so, and that's the same with our electives. We do a construction for real estate developers class. You guys I wouldn't advise you guys to take that class if you come out of an undergraduate degree in construction management. But it's a good class. Real estate capital markets, that's a guy who runs a very large private equity fund comes in and teaches you how to both capitalize deals and how to pay out investors. So it's really, really cool. Contracts and transactions goes through leases and purchase and sale agreements and letters of intent, some of the legal documents, and then some negotiations and how a real transaction actually works. Real estate around the world, we'll talk about that in a second. Argus, have you guys heard of Argus? It's a real estate investment analysis tool. Very powerful. You can get a certification in it. It's something you put on your resume and it makes you worth more money. Resort development. We live in Salt Lake. Park City is right over the hill. So we have some of the best resort development talent in the world right in our backyard. Those guys, this class is actually cool. So a guy who worked for East West Partners and for the Walt Disney companies, he's developed resorts all over the world. He teaches it. And he goes up to his network in Park City, and he basically says, hey, can I bring students to your resorts? So, it's like Deer Valley, Red Ledges, Promontory, Park City, all the big resorts up there. They actually host our students on site once a week, and feed them dinner, and they sit around a table and they talk about resort development. It's not a super heavy academic type class, but you get exposed to these amazing stories and amazing people. I mean, have you guys heard the Promontory story? If you're not from around Utah, you may not have. So this guy develops Promontory. It's this huge Jack Nicklaus golf course development. It's just outside of Park City. It's kind of a B site. It's not an A site. It's kind of a B site with an A development on it. And he spent all this money on equestrian stuff and golf courses and all these amenities. And then 2008 hit, and the resort market got crushed. Think of the resort market as the caboose, right? It's usually the last. It's kind of the last thing to go, or the first thing to go in a recession, and the last thing to come back. And anyway, he lost this thing to the bank, and then when it went up for sale, in like a foreclosure sale, he bought it back for 30 cents on the dollar. So it's legal. It's not illegal. He didn't lose it on purpose either. But that resort development world is really risky, and there's a lot of crazy stories and big personalities in it. So you learn about ski resorts and all kinds of cool stuff. So, and then you guys heard of Extra Space Storage? They're the largest company by market cap in Utah. They're publicly traded, and for a long time they were the #1 performing real estate investment trust on Wall Street. A real estate investment trust is just it's a portfolio of real estate that you can invest in. You can buy stock in it, basically. And Extra Space Storage is in Salt Lake, and they've offered to teach a real estate investment trust class for us. So, I mean, these guys are doing it better than anyone else, and you get to sit in a classroom with them and learn how they do business. They also hire a lot of our students. So we have a private equity class. I mean, there's a lot of good classes. So, any questions? None? You guys sure? I know one of you has a question. Well, does that mean I'm talking too much?
How much does it cost?
We'll get there. That's a good question, though. It's not free, and it's more expensive than BYU-Idaho, which doesn't give you a whole lot of information. So, all right. So we talked about that real estate around the world class. So this is the reason. The only reason we bring this up is it's unusual. The same guy who teaches that resort development class, he came and met with me when I first started my job, and he was telling me how he likes to travel. So he likes to do these long, extended trips where he's got this goal to visit over 100 countries. And so he'll go, and he brings less than 10 pounds, so he's literally carrying like a shoulder bag with an iPad in it, like a change of underwear and some socks and diarrhea medicine. Literally. Anyway, he started talking about this, and I thought, holy smokes, what if we did that trip with students? And so those initial conversations turned into this experience called Real Estate Around the World. So we take a group of students and we fly around the world. So there are rules. We only fly west. Nobody can bring more than 10 pounds of luggage. No checked baggage. And we don't spend more than 72 hours in a single destination. And so you're moving. But the cool thing is, you're visiting some of the top development in the world on this trip. So Shanghai, China, there's this company called Shui On Land. Have any of you been to China? So yeah, China develops property at a larger scale than anyone else on earth. So a development in China would exceed the size of Rexburg in terms of how many units they're developing. So they'll put up like 15, 20 high-rises at once. It's insane. Now, they're not filling these up, right? It's not really market-driven. China's trying to, how do I say this politically, in a politically correct way? They're trying to maintain their growth and their GDP, and they're doing it through the construction industry. So I don't know how sustainable it is, but development is amazing. So the Shuion Land Company, they took an entire square mile in Shanghai, which is the biggest and one of the most dense cities on earth, bulldozed the whole thing, and they're doing this development. And they host us. We get to go there. Heinz Development Company, which is one of the best, biggest and most prestigious development companies in the world, they hosted us in their high-rise in Shanghai. The Walt Disney Company hosted us in Shanghai as well. Disney Shanghai just opened, and same with Paris. We went and saw Disney Paris. The Mall of the Emirates in Dubai hosts us. It's the largest mall in the world. Adobe hosts us in Bangalore, India. Costco hosts us in Seoul, Korea, and others. I'm forgetting some, but it's really cool to see how property is developed and used in other countries, and it will expand your mind. Salt Lake is a very small place relative to what we see on this trip. So that's the Shanghai skyline. The building that you can't see the top of, that's the second tallest building in the world. I think it just recently opened. It's amazing. So, and the reason, well, we'll talk about experiential learning too. The Eccles School is focused on experiential learning. Every school has something that they kind of hang their hat on to compete. For us, it's experiential learning. This is just one example. Another example we had yesterday, we have a group of students working on a consulting project. This is a very interesting project. They're looking at rolling out the charter school model inside the juvenile detention system. So right now, the juvenile detention system can spend $100,000 or more per year per inmate, and there's no real reform that happens. And so we're looking at taking that charter school model, building schools where some of these kids can go, get educated, and get reformed, hopefully, but all within kind of the juvenile detention system, save money, and actually produce a better outcome. And we're working on the real estate part of that and the finance part of it. And we're working with the former mayor of Memphis and some politicians from Georgia. These are real projects solving real problems. Students have opportunities to work on that kind of stuff. We have the Utah Real Estate Challenge, which is a case competition where you propose your own commercial development project. And a whole bunch of other stuff. We have our own venture capital fund. We have an impact investing fund. We have a bond fund. These are all real funds with real money, and you're making real investment decisions. So in addition to that, there's internships, and we also, well, here's real quick. Here's the trip in a nutshell. Last time we went, those were our destinations. So this is so every other year we do that around the world trip, and then on the off year we do a trip domestically. So in May we're going to go to the East Coast. We're going to do New York, Philly, Baltimore, DC, and Chicago. But this is us at the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco. It'll be the tallest, one of the tallest buildings on the West Coast. All right, so this is what I wanted to get to. In addition to all those experiential learning opportunities I talked about, this right here, you guys may not know all of these, but these are professional organizations similar to NAHB. You guys know what NAHB is. These are, yeah, go ahead.
I was on the NAHB team.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is similar to NAHB, but these are mostly commercial focused. And frankly, our program's pretty commercial centric. We're trying to roll out more residential within our program, but we're a pretty commercial centric program. Anyway, these are all commercial real estate groups that offer our students discounted membership, or in some cases free membership. And we encourage you to get involved. These are great networking opportunities. And this is like going to the ice cream store. There's a flavor for everybody. You've got the brokerage group, and you've got the development group, and you've got the corporate real estate group, and the retail group, and the office and industrial group. And there's, like I said, there's a flavor for everybody. And then a couple of these are general. And we'll attend their annual meetings. We'll send students to their lunches and all that kind of stuff. So we're very plugged in with that network. For you ladies in the room, it doesn't surprise me that most of you in here are male. That's kind of how the construction and real estate industries are, unfortunately. But for you ladies in the room, this one right here is Commercial Real Estate Women, and it is a fantastic organization. It's not just for women. I'm a member. And they throw the best parties and have the best networking events. I say that sincerely. These they get stuff done, and I'm it's a great event to be a part of. And they're actually changing the landscape, and there are more opportunities than there used to be for females in the industry. In fact, a lot of our employers will come to us and kind of like nudge, hey, do you have any good female students? We want to kind of diversify within our firm a little bit. So all right. Any questions? Somebody's got to have a question, other than how much it costs. We'll talk about that at the end. Yeah.
For those travel around the world and east to west coast, is that included with the tuition, or is that extra?
So it does cost extra, but in the past we have subsidized quite a bit of the trip. So you get 3 credit hours for the trip, and in the past we've scholarshiped that because it's expensive. And so what we did last time is we paid for all of the flights. So the trip started in Seoul and it ended in London, and we bought all of the flights between Seoul and London. So you had to get yourself to Seoul and get yourself home from London, and then pay for hotels along the way. But what happens is students will just cram as many of themselves as they can in a hotel room. So and in a lot of these places you can eat cheap, the hotels are cheap, but then in a place like London it's not so cheap. So I think the trip ended up costing the gross cost was probably $8,000. So knock off the tuition for the class, knock off the flights in the middle, and then divide your hotel cost up, and it takes it down to what you're doing for a few $1,000s is pretty remarkable. So it still costs money, but it's actually pretty affordable. Okay, I forgot about this, but since you just asked such a good question, I want you to come down here, and we brought a box of goodies for you guys. And I was hoping we would have enough for everybody, but you guys showed up in some pretty large numbers. So, yeah, come on down and grab something. The golf shirt is men's medium, so you probably don't want to go that route. But everything else is up for grabs. Oh, look at this, another question.
Will you get your real estate license if you graduate this program? Like, how's that work?
Really good question. You actually will get your real estate license before you come into the program.
Okay.
It's a prerequisite. Now, you don't actually have to get the license, you just need to do the training. But once you've done the training, it's probably worth it to get the license.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the license training, it's a good thing to do. So.
Since it's a prerequisite, do you guys usually point the
Yes.
students in the proper direction?
Yeah, and you get a discount too
Okay.
for the training. So it's online, it's self-paced. You guys could do it from Rexburg,
Oh, cool.
and it's pretty good too. So and I can't remember, it's like a $75 discount if you're coming into the MREC program.
You can do that before you graduate?
You could do it right now if you wanted. So
So like seeing as there's like a lot of financial aspects to this program, and like they're working on real projects, like are there like financial exams that people are having to take just to be a part of this, or?
So-
I know, like my dad's a financial advisor, and
Yeah.
I know like my mom was also working on like a Series 7 exam.
yeah, those series exams are different. There's a lot of that's a lot of legal and ethical stuff. There aren't any exams other than the GMAT or the GRE for some people that you need to take. Now, there are opportunities to pursue certifications and designations like that through the program. Like that, this group right here, that stands for Certified Commercial Investment Manager. It's a very good designation to have. Think of it as having like a CPA in real estate brokerage or a LEED certification or something like that. And our program satisfies all of their educational requirements except for one class. So that's a long road too. I mean, if you don't really understand what it takes to get a CCIM, it's hard to explain that. But it's a long road. It's a hard thing to do, and our program satisfies quite a few of those requirements. So there are opportunities like that. But to get in, we'll go through that in a minute. We'll go through all the admissions requirements. But by the way, those of you who have been asking questions, come grab a bag. I can't give bags to everybody, but I wish I could.
So how long does it usually take to get through the program, as you say?
It's self-paced. Don't take more than 4 years. The university will kick you out at some point. Don't recommend that. we only had one student who like pushed that limit because he would only take as much as Wells Fargo, who's his employer, would pay for. So, but most students will take, I'd say, 4 to 6 semesters on average. So, go by fast. This program, it's going to sound weird, and it sounds like I'm trying to sell you something. Really not. I'm really not trying to hard sell this. It's got to be the right fit for you. But the program's fun. You'll get in it and you'll like it. The students who are in the program, like I said, they like to stay in it longer. You'll meet some amazing people. You'll develop these great friendships and networks, and it's fun.
So I'm curious, what is the demographic of people coming into the program? What kind of majors do you have coming into this program?
That's a really good question. A lot of our students come out of the construction management or construction industry or degrees.
Okay.
Planning is another big one. Architecture is a big one. Business is a big one. A lot of different disciplines within business. And then, we get the occasional kind of just random, humanities, a lot of other, that there's a small sliver that's like everything else, right? It's other. So
to add on top of that question, what would you advise being the best coming into the program? What kind of backgrounds do you look for?
So if you looked at the success of our graduates, I don't think you could profile it by undergraduate degree. I don't think there would be a correlation between success and undergraduate degree. However, the jobs that they go into, so we had a couple guys who were general contractors who had degrees in construction management who came into the program. They had about 10 years of experience, I think. Mm-hmm. And they got hired to start an in-house development company for a big developer. And they got pay raises. They got a transition from just doing construction to, being on a development team, getting a piece of the action, sitting in those meetings where you're making development decisions, and then, and they're still building the projects. Those guys got that opportunity because of their background.
Gotcha.
But that's not to say that someone with a different background doesn't get an equally, successful opportunity. So sorry, I saw a few other hands. Yeah.
Yeah, so what are some of the average starting salaries after graduating?
Yeah, let's jump ahead. That's a really good question. Did anyone have something else they wanted to ask before we jump into that?
Just one more. So when you transfer, what's the transfer credit-wise, I guess, from Idaho to?
No transfer. It's fresh start, graduate degree. But we'll talk about tuition in a minute because there is something related to tuition. But you'll need to do the full 43 credit hours. So, but we do really like this degree. We've had a partnership with BYU-Idaho on the finance side. We really like the students we get. So there's really, I think you guys are at a bit of an advantage because we do have a partnership with BYU-Idaho. So.
Is this like a generally competitive field, or can this be something that we'd be able to get a job rather quickly? Or?
Yes.
Switches with the market.
Yeah, so real estate is super cyclical. So is construction. And job availability is largely dependent on economic conditions. But right now we're at full employment. There's basically no unemployment in Utah. And it's made, the salaries have gone up. Almost all of our students get jobs. Our students who don't get jobs, I don't think they want jobs. They're not really, they're not really trying. And that's like one student every once in a while, right? It's not, our employment in this program is basically 100%. Now that'll change if the economy goes sideways, but, and what was the other piece of your question?
It's just how much it switches with the market.
Yeah, I haven't been through that. I haven't been through a down cycle in academia yet. What happens in academia though is you get this, some people say I'm not going to go because the job market's not good. And then you get as many of the other people saying, I don't have good job prospects, so I might as well go back to school. So I don't know. I don't really know what that is going to look like when. And our next recession, I don't think is going to be like the last one. I think there will still be good jobs out there.
My question is, with the architecture program that you have down at the University of Utah, would they still be permitted to take electives inside of this program?
With architecture students?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually don't know that program as well enough to tell you what electives you could take, but we this program is a partnership with the College of Architecture and Planning and the business school. So, and we do have, yeah, we have a dual degree, and we also have, I have students in my finance class once in a while who are pursuing a certificate in real estate. They're architecture students, but they want to get a certificate in real estate. So, but I don't know about electives. I think that architecture program is pretty rigid in how it works. So let me, oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask what the prerequisites for.
Yeah, we'll get into that in just a second. Let me jump ahead here. So Greg and Allison are our career coaches. Greg spent 10 years working in the finance industry. Allison actually spent several years with a hedge fund in New York. She has a master's degree in counseling. We have an amazing team of people. All these two do is help you guys get jobs. That's their sole purpose. And you might be surprised. This is, you know, a lot of universities have kind of centralized career services where you go meet with a career counselor, and they have a caseload of like 5,000 students each or something. They don't really get to know you. That's not how we operate. Think of Greg and Allison as a matchmaking service for careers. So they're going to get to know you. They're going to get to know your strengths, your weaknesses, and what you want to do. They'll know your circumstances. I mean, we know when our students are having kids. You know, we get to know them extremely well. And Greg and Allison, a job will come in, and they'll send it out to everybody. But if they think it's a real good fit for someone, they'll contact you directly and say, hey, we really think you should apply for this job. We already put in a good word for you with the employer. And that's kind of how it works. It's very grassroots. It's very relationship-based. Real estate is relationship-based. And so another part of their job is they're out in the community all the time looking for jobs and making connections with people. And so their Rolodex and my Rolodex, you guys know what a Rolodex is? Your list of contacts. So we bring all that to the table, and our network is your network. And that's how we help our students get jobs. So they offer a whole, I mean, these guys are experts. Anything from resume review to negotiating an offer. And we actually get mad at our students when they accept an offer without coming to us first, because we can always get you something more. This is real estate. The whole business is based on negotiating. If you get an offer and you don't negotiate, they might rescind that offer because they're going, who is this person? So you need to negotiate, and we can help you do that in a tactful and professional way. So, all right. So somebody asked about starting salaries. We are right now we're in the midst of a couple of incredibly successful employment cycles for our program. Our last cycle, our average starting salary was over $90,000. We've never been that high before, and I don't think we'll sustain that. It was a small graduating class, lots of work experience. This cycle, we're in the 80s. That's also a little bit high. Our target is to be around $75,000 for our starting salary, and that's for a student that has some work experience. Students that don't have any work experience are going to be about 65 to 70. And we don't like students taking jobs below 60. That's kind of it's up to you. You can if you want. But for us, that's kind of a floor. We feel like below 60, you're probably not getting a good enough return on your investment. And so right now, I mean, the range is, we just had a student who got a job at 60. The only reason we let him take it, he's fresh out of the military. He took it because he hasn't graduated yet. And when he graduates, they're going to give him a raise. So, but anyway, our career coaches are amazing. You guys will be impressed with the level of service that they provide. And the jobs are good right now. The jobs are really good. We place students all over the country. This is just a list of some of the companies that have hired recently. You guys know Maverick, the C-Store. They're headquartered in Salt Lake. Those are cool jobs. You get to be a development project manager, and they'll give you a region, and you're looking for sites, and you're managing the development of a Maverick store. It's a cool way to cut your teeth into the industry. Lots of funds. This list is a lot of funds, a lot of development companies. Family, you guys know the Miller family, the Utah Jazz and the car dealerships. Their real estate department's run by one of our alums, and another alum works there. So Phillips Edison, they're the largest private owner of grocery-anchored shopping centers in the world. They're headquartered in Salt Lake. They hire a lot of our students. Some home builders on there. Anyway, it's a good list. Those are all good companies. And I think Now, let me talk, So let me talk briefly about someone with a construction background or education. I told you about those two guys that started that in-house construction company. But right now, we actually have 2 employers who are actively searching for a student that either has a general contractor's license or has an education, some background in construction management, blended with the MRED degree. That comes up quite often. A lot of companies are looking for somebody who knows enough about construction. They can bring them in-house into their development company, and that person can help, help with construction management from the developer's side. That marriage of skills has become pretty sought after. The cool thing about this is these are generally small companies. These aren't companies that have a construction division, right? It's a developer and an analyst and maybe a construction guy, right? And the 3 of them do big projects, and that's pretty common. So, yeah.
So would you say it's better to have kind of knowledge in construction management or have knowledge in architecture?
To go work for a developer?
Like what would a developer want more? Somebody with the construction
Yeah,
management?
construction management. And that's, now, we've placed students who are architects who have undergraduate degrees in architecture. We've placed them in development companies where they can do like some due diligence work and some entitlement work and design work. But most, like a big developer, they're gonna hire an architect to do a big project. It's, having that in-house is pretty expensive and, so, but you can find opportunities either way. Let's see, who do we have here on the board? And this is just these are a couple students. I'm gonna talk about Meg. She's the middle one. Meg was fresh out of an undergrad. Meg's younger than a lot of you guys. Meg's like, I don't know.
She's 20.
She's like 20 or something. She's the youngest student we've ever accepted. She's exceptional though. And she's from Australia, and she really wanted a job with this company called JDS. It's this development company out of New York City. They're building on these old like rail platforms, and they're taking a whole new approach to real estate. They're not really looking at land. They're looking at anywhere where they can build a building. And so they're building these housing projects on these beautiful condos. And they're really cutting edge, really cool. I mean, it'd be like every young person's dream to go work for this company. And we were able to get Meg a job there, an internship for this summer. So, and then I'm trying to think of any other recent, so Todd, the guy on top, Todd did some construction management for a company called Peg Development. He's not a construction guy, but he kind of learned enough to be able to do it. And he did an internship for them, and they just hired him on. Todd comes out of the startup world, tech startups, and he had no real estate experience at all. And we were able to help him. And then Elena was a residential real estate agent, and she was in anti-money laundering at Goldman Sachs, and she just pivoted and got a job at doing underwriting at Zions Bank. These are our 3 most recent placements, and they all happened within like the last month. So just to kind of give you a feel, our students go into lots of different things though. So.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, like for strategy-wise, so we're all at school here doing
Yep.
construction management or architecture.
Yep.
So would it be better for us to go after we graduate here to go gain our experience for a little while and then join your program?
Very good question.
Or the other way around and just going right into it?
You should come get it back because that's an incredible question. Okay, so here's the answer I would give you. I would assess the opportunities that you have when you're done. If you have a job that you're excited about, and and you're gonna get compensated fairly for doing that, then go do it. Because you can always come back to school. There's no real. I mean, Todd on that last slide. Sorry, I think I jumped. There we go. Todd, the guy on top, he's like 45 or something. I mean, he's an older guy, and he came back to school and did it. Meg's 20, and Elena's somewhere in between. So I would say if you like your opportunities coming out of school, then pursue those. If you're not super jazzed about the opportunities you have coming out of school, or if you just want to get it done while you're young, then come and see us, because we don't just offer an education. I'd say half the value in this degree is in the education. The other half is in networking and career services. And so, you know, if you want to spend a little bit more time in school and up your value, up your salary, up your earning potential, we'll help you get a job. So now if you get that, I mean, I've had a student just recently come in and say, hey, I've been accepted into the program, but I just got a job in real estate private equity in Texas, paying me $80,000 a year. Well, go to Texas and do that for a while. That's a unique opportunity. So that's how I would answer that. Pretty case by case. So. All right. 2 more minutes? Okay. Regina, why don't you come up and talk about admissions? Sorry, I talked way too long. So.
Okay, so we are accepting applications for fall 2017, and the international deadline is March 1st, and the domestic deadline is July 28th. And so what we're looking for is a bachelor's degree with at least a cumulative 3.0 GPA. We don't have a preference over taking the GMAT to the GRE. The average is around between 530 and 550. So if you can score an overall quant and verbal, you'll make that average, and we like to see that. If you're scoring in the 600s, then you're on the more competitive side. We don't look at the essay or the critical thinking part, so don't stress out on those. Just focus your attention on quant and verbal. For those who are international students, yes, there is an English language proficiency requirement, but what's great is if you graduate here, that requirement is waived. We look for 2 letters of recommendation and a video essay. So the recommendations should come from professors that know you well or supervisors that know you well. And the video essay, it's only 2 minutes long, but you can actually say a lot in 2 minutes. Pretend that you're talking to somebody in front of you and you come off nonchalant, very conversational. Professional resume, and then the prerequisite is corporate finance. So a course that covers a topic, time value of money, would transfer in. I think BYU-I CM 201 is a class we would take, and B401 is a class we would take. And then the co-requisite real estate principles or real estate license, or what Danny was talking about, the real estate online course like Stringham Schools would also count. Work experience is not required, but like what Danny said, if you have an awesome internship or a work opportunity, take it, we'll be here. Okay, so we do have some GMAT GRE substitutions. I'm going really fast because we're out of time, but you can always ask questions. If you have a 3.5 or better, we will waive the GMAT GRE, okay? So there's an application for that, and that's online if you go to our main website. If you take part in the Associated Schools construction competition and you have a 3.0 cumulative GPA, email me. I have an application for that. We can work on waiving the GMAT GRE. Okay, tuition. So it's about $60,000, but we have a partnership with you guys. And we will automatically gift you a scholarship of $21,000. So that gets you really close to in-state resident tuition. And then for this fall, we will offer you a waiver for the application fee. It's $65 for us to review your application, but you can go ahead and plug in this code in the enrollment section, and that will waive the $65 so you don't have to pay it. Any questions?
So basically, real quick, we have those GMAT waivers, and then because of our partnership, you guys will be treated like Utah residents. So we're going to waive most of the out-of-state tuition. Actually, we'll scholarship you for most of the out-of-state tuition, and then there are other scholarships available as well.
Let's have the questions come up afterwards.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind coming up. And then some of you asked questions and didn't get stuff, and I don't want to take any of the stuff home with me. So
there's 3 bags left.
So I just wanted to thank Danny and Regina for coming out today. If you guys want to give them a round of applause. If you have more questions, come up. The whole ASC competition thing is a big value. I studied for 3 months for the GMAT, so just
yeah,
so
if you
know.
can get out of that, it'll save you some headache.
Okay, so thank you. Appreciate it.
Are you in the